going? Welcome to the Seth Rhodes Show. Welcome back if you're regular. Welcome if you're brand new. So in this show I talk about financial education and anything I'm learning in the world of finance at the moment. So lately it's been e-commerce. Prior to that I had got started investing, and all mixed throughout are stories of my own personal financial journey. I'm just a normal person, got a normal family dealing with normal financial things for, in my case, a millennial. I'm also married to a millennial, and we are trying to buy a house. So that's our context. Your context may be similar, maybe different generation, different exact situation, specific situation, but we all share a lot of things in common. So this is late in 2023 when I'm recording this, and the housing market is it's been record breaking for over a year. It has started to come down a little bit, but in my area in Eastern Oregon, housing demand remains strong. And case in point, when I go to look at a house, I know I have about 48 hours before the house is bought outright for cash. Yep. So that tells you a couple things about my area, about my context. One, a family of 5 generally cannot go buy their house for cash. There's going to be people that can, but most people are going to be in context more similar to mine, where they cannot come up with $250,000 in cash to buy that house outright. So, before we get any further, if you like my content, please subscribe to my channel. At this point in time, I'm going to be super honest, I've got 1 subscriber, and it's my wife. So if you want to join the subscribers, that would be awesome. I would love to grow this channel. I'd love to offer more value to you. So, I've already touched on the basics of what this channel is about, but my commitment is to always grow, always improve myself, and anything I learn, because life's about learning, I share with the audience. So I think of this channel in the terms of self-improvement, but really, specifically, it's been about financial education, because that is where I need to improve the most. So I don't do shame, I don't guilt myself, I don't shame other people. I try not to preach about what to do. I try to share what I am doing. Sometimes it comes out like, you should do this, so bear with me. But the direction is only to be helpful, and I am at most preaching to my former self, saying, Seth, you should do this, Seth, you should do that. Seth, former Seth, 19-year-old Seth, this is what I suggest doing in your shoes, because here I am, 39-year-old Seth, doing what I do now, having learned lots and lots of lessons, having learned how to be poor. Get this, I've learned how to be poor in a multitude of ways. No shame, I've just had low income forever, so I've learned a lot about what poor people experience and do. So I have this ambition to not be poor, to provide wealth for my family, and not just buy material things, but understand how to create value. So I look at learning and business as a way to enhance my learning and provide value to the world. So I don't feel bad about being poor. Of course, being poor feels bad, but I don't feel bad morally about being poor, only enough to get out of it, stop being poor. And that pertains specifically to my mind, like, what am I going to do to think differently? Because poor people, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, and you've heard it elsewhere, but let's do it one more time. If you give a poor person with poor thinking $1 million, they will be poor in 5 years. They will be struggling financially in 5 years. That $1 million will not change their life. That's why playing the lottery, this is painful, but playing the lottery, I agree with Dave Ramsey in that it's pretty much a tax on poor people. It doesn't change your life, it only costs. And if you were to win, 5 years later, you'd be broke. That's brutal, but in so much as it's true, I would say it's because of mindset. You can't give poor thinking more money and expect different results. So there's different levels of being poor. Maybe this is what we're going to talk about today. There is the way you think, the way you behave, the way you talk, the people you associate with, and the amount of learning and the amount of sacrifice you are able to engage in, willing to engage in. So I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to take some time away from my family after the needs of my family are met, take some time away from my family to run a business on top of my day job. That's my strategy. That's my willingness, and I spend every spare minute of my day listening to financial education because I want to get better. And here's a critical point, I do act on what I learned. That's the difference between 19-year-old Seth in the realm of finance and 39-year-old Seth. I have more drive to act on what I learned. So I call that applied learning. This is not, I didn't come up with that, but that's just a great term. Head knowledge, esoteric knowledge about macroeconomics, personal finance, anything. That's nice. I could spend the rest of my life in that zone, but my family and ultimately me cannot survive on esoteric knowledge. We survive on the exchange of goods and services and money. And you do that through creating value for people, advancing ideas that help people, solving problems. I like to think the bigger the problem you solve, the more money you make and the more wealth you create. So, you know me well enough by now to know that I don't think money equates to wealth. But money is part of wealth, and if you don't have a lot of money, you won't be able to pay your bills, because guess what? It costs a lot to pay your bills. The average home price right now in 2023 is north of $400,000. So for the longest time, it was just a basic stat that the average household would raise or would earn a little over $2 million. So if you think you're going to pay off your house, with interest, you're probably paying closer to $500,000 on the average house. You're going to pay a quarter of your lifetime earnings towards your dwelling. If you really think about that, that's kind of sad. It means you're not going to be able to accomplish much more in your financial life besides buying your house. That's it. And most people won't be able to do that. So that buttresses my argument of it takes a lot of money to pay your bills. So you need to make a lot of money. You say, well, that's kind of weird. Maybe you're not into that. But if you do not make a lot of money, you can't pay your bills. So strange, but true. I would like to think that you could make a little bit of money, pay your bills, and still have enough to invest and over time be wealthy. But that's not the case. You have to make a lot of money. And a lot of money is, of course, subjective. But anything short of, let's say, 6 figures right now doesn't give you enough to live on, because another stat for you, over half of 6-figure earners don't have enough money to survive one emergency. One emergency will derail them. They'll dig into their nest egg, their savings, their credit card, whatever. But one small emergency is out of reach for the average 6-figure earner. Now, when I was a kid, 6 figures was a lot of money. And if you made 6 figures, you had a much better chance of being wealthy than you do today. And everyone's talking about inflation right now, but over the course of my lifetime, I hardly ever heard about inflation because it was kept low enough that you wouldn't notice it. So by design, perhaps. Either way, people didn't talk about it because they didn't notice it. But now that we've seen the highest inflation we've seen in many years, people talk about it. It's a thing. But it means more than ever you have to make a lot of money, not to be wealthy, but just to pay your bills. This is not a complaint. This is not rabble-rousing. But if you don't make a lot of money, you won't pay your bills. And if you don't pay your bills, well, you kind of know what happens. It only goes downhill. And with the rise of homelessness, the rise of all kinds of mental problems, I would attribute some of that at least to the fact that it takes a lot of money to pay your bills. So making a lot of money could be good for your mental health, because it means not only could you pay your bills, but potentially you could have enough for retirement. And I say all this stuff kind of weirdly because I feel like just a couple years ago, this might not have been the case. Maybe it was always the case, but I've become acutely aware of it, that making a lot of money is the way to take care of your family. And by a lot, I will quantify that and say 6-figure income. I've never made 6 figures. That's still a goal of mine. But the people I listen to and learn from make 6 figures a month. So they have figured out, partly because they had entrepreneurial drive, partly because of the need. But they figured out a way to do that. And it all comes down to hard work, yes. Honest work, yes. But really understanding the value that they could bring and who needed that problem solved. So value and solutions they brought to the right audience. And if you can do that, you can make a lot of money. And I don't ever subscribe to get rich quick schemes. I don't like to hear about getting rich overnight. Doesn't interest me for so many reasons. But in principle, most people will not handle sudden wealth well. It doesn't work that way. So the best thing I can say to my former self on the issue is incremental gains. Learn, experiment. Find a way to iterate on your own ventures over and over again quickly. Find a way to experiment more. Grow your people skills, grow your network. Be kind, be honest. Expect it to take a long time. And absolutely be intentional about becoming wealthy so that you can pay your bills and retire, take care of your children, provide for your community. All these things come from caring about wealth enough to learn about it and go after it. So there are many other facets of wealth. I tend to, in this channel, focus on the financial part of wealth because it is what I'm learning the most about. It's what was the most lacking in my personal development. So there you have it, guys. There you have it, folks. I want to share everything I learned with you. Appreciate your time, patience as I grow, as I find better ways to share information. And with that, I will leave you with my mantra, which is go work hard at what you love. I am certainly working hard at what I love. And yeah, I look forward to the results. So have a great day.